afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our June Rotary E-Club of the Greater San Fernando Valley meeting. And today we have a very special guest speaker who we have a close partnership with. We're really excited about having Will Hernandez with us today. He has served as an administrator in the United States Marine Corps for more than 7 years. And upon leaving the military with an honorable discharge, Will gained a position with the McGraw-Hill Companies as regional editorial manager, responsible for the publication of 2 daily newspapers and 14 weekly publications in 5 southwestern states.
Wow.
So Will has served on the board of directors for Hughes Helicopter Credit Union and has more than 20 years experience in senior general management positions for Fortune 250 companies. Will has served as director of the Valley Food Bank since 2004, which is where we connect, and was instrumental in the development and expansion of the Valley Food Bank and makes us unload mail trucks every year. And Will can tell you a little bit about that. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Will Hernandez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Sarah, thank you. And it seems like it's family, so I'll be a little bit informal because I feel like I know all of you very well. Some are new faces, but most of you, we've chatted or we've worked together. And it's really a privilege to come and talk with you today. I know that you support us with your efforts at the Postal Service Drive every year, and you do the food drive at Gilson's. And I think the part that you may not know is the impact that has in the community. You do the work, and you collect a lot of goods, and the truck comes and takes it all away, and perhaps you don't know how that continues on and how it makes an impact in the community. So I'm going to share a little bit about that. But first I wanted to let you know about the organization you support. You may not know that. The Valley Food Bank has been here in the Valley. This is our 13th year. And we're part of the Rescue Mission Alliance. And the Rescue Mission Alliance has been around for 41 years. Started in Ventura County with a rescue mission specifically for folks that were in restarting their lives. And so they're people that were either homeless, they were incarcerated, drug addicts, whatever. And over the years, they've developed a program there in Oxnard for people to get their lives turned around. In addition to that, it grew. Now we have a facility for women and children. So the lighthouse is there for women and children. And that they have a program for about 9 months for women to get their lives back together, be reunited with their children, and then continue on in the community. So that's the expansion in Oxnard. Now that has grown. We also have a rescue mission in Santa Maria. We have one in Victor Valley, and we have one here in the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission, which recently had a fire. You probably saw that in the news. Their shelter burned down and their production facility burned down. So the food bank, reluctantly, but we gave up 5,000 square feet of our warehouse so that we could incorporate the production facility for the thrift stores, so the thrift stores could continue. The thrift stores are the lifeline for these rescue missions. That's where they get the bulk of their money. And so we are sharing that space. They have now acquired a temporary facility that they'll move into July the 15th. So we're happy for that. I guess the best news is that no one was injured and there was no loss of life. So the building, they'll probably come out as I would say, a successful fire. A very old building that'll be rebuilt by insurance money, and so they'll wind up with a better facility than they started with. So as the food bank has grown, we started in the San Fernando Valley with just a hot meal program. We used to just take hot meals out to areas where there were folks either living on the street, folks living in their cars, people that were living in the park, and we would serve them hot meals. And that program grew, and we said, you know, do we really want to continue just feeding people in the street? They do that very well in other organizations. They do it very successfully downtown. All of you are very familiar with Skid Row and all the folks that live there. And if you tell them they're homeless, they'll tell you they're not. They do have their little assigned area. But that's a whole different world. And here in the San Fernando Valley, we wanted to really focus on struggling families. There are so many. And many of you, you have neighbors, you have friends, and you might not even be aware of their circumstance. Because here in the San Fernando Valley, we are very, very good. We've developed great coping skills that somebody greets you and your response is almost immediate. Oh, great. How are you doing? Oh, fine. Everything's good, but maybe not. And so we have folks that come and we distribute food in 12 different locations to families that are in need. They're self-certifying. People don't have to come and prove how needy they are, how hungry they are, how poor they are. There's just something so undignified about making people prove their need. And I know that for the older generation, they just will not do that. They come from a generation, people with gray hair like me, they come from a generation where they were basically raised that you have to be self-sufficient, that you have to earn what you get. And so we have a lot of folks, if you put them through that kind of a litmus test, they just won't come and get food. We want people to get food. There's nobody that should go to bed without eating. And one of the things that is really, really difficult is to be a parent and not be able to provide for your child. Now, I can miss a meal or two, and I'm going to be just fine. I can drink a little more water. I'm going to be great. But how do you tell that to a small child who says, I'm hungry? Mom, I'm hungry. It just breaks your heart. So we distribute to approximately 3,000 families every month. We have not been able to come up with a definition of where you move from the resource to become the enabler. And I don't know if we ever want to get there because everybody's situation is so unique. Some people come week after week after week and they come and get groceries. There's others that come for a few weeks and then they're in a better place and they move on. Usually they become volunteers. But what we want to do is to make sure that there's food always available. And how that comes about, if you think about the food drive you do at Gilson's, that food, we take it back in and it takes very little in the way of processing because all of that food is coming out brand new out of the store. Now you might even get somebody that drives by and gives you a bag or two. But we're required by law that we will inspect that food for date, condition of the can or the package, and then it gets sorted and put away. That food that you collect goes into emergency food boxes. We try to give a family food that will last them about 3 to 5 days. And so they get non-perishable food that's augmented by perishable food. Our goal is to try and give people perishable food. We want them to have fresh fruits, vegetables, dairy, deli, and those kinds of things. But you can't make it for that many days without giving them the non-perishable. The problem with the non-perishable, as you all know, as we become way more aware of nutrition today, is the non-perishables are just loaded with preservatives. Take a can of soup, 800-900 milligrams of sodium. So if you're challenged with hypertension or water retention issues, soup is not your best friend. However, we get a lot of seniors that think they're doing really good because they're going to only eat one meal a day. They get themselves down to one meal a day and they're eating vegetable soup. Well, on the surface that would seem really good because they're getting some vegetables, but those vegetables are just loaded in sodium and preservatives. So they're not doing themselves a whole lot of good. And I do home visits from time to time, and I've probably shared this story with you. There was a lady, I stopped by her house, I was bringing her some groceries, and she had the TV on, and so just to make conversation, I said, oh, what are you watching? And she didn't know. It was just on. The TV was just there to make the background noise, if you will. And she had a stack of pristine newspapers that were close to the door, and so I commented that, that was really great. She was doing some recycling, and she said, no, not really. And I could look around her house. She wasn't a hoarder. She wasn't a pack rat kind of a person, and the papers didn't appear to be read. And so I said, okay, so help me out here. What's happening with these papers? She said, well, I can't navigate the calendar anymore. So I buy the newspaper because it tells me the day and the date. And so I had to think about that. And first of all, she didn't want her kids to know because if they figured out she couldn't navigate the calendar, she was probably on her way to assisted living. But I have a pretty busy schedule, and I have points of reference in my day. So if I look at a calendar, I can figure out where I am. But if I was home every day, and one day was the same as the next, and I didn't have anything on there, I would probably be like her. What day is it? Even with the benefit of the calendar. So seniors find very creative ways of coping, and in some ways masking as they lose their ability to do things. It's only when it becomes a safety issue that it really becomes a serious thing. But they want to have their dignity, and they want to be independent as long as they can. So we try to help out. We have lots of seniors that help us at the Pantry Network. Of the 12 that I mentioned, I will invite them to come, and it's not because they can do heavy lifting. It's not because they can move big boxes. It's not that they're the smartest people in the world. It's because they can get social interaction. And so we'll invite them to come and be a greeter, or hand out bags, or keep the line in order. We'll invent jobs for them because they'll get up, they get groomed, they either get a ride or they make their way over to the pantry. Generally, they're the first to arrive, usually the last to leave, and they feel that they've worked, so they'll take some groceries with them. And so we can get them to take the groceries. So sometimes the things we do, they're not as obvious as you would think. We're trying to keep people engaged. All of us know that when you have a purpose, you feel better. When you have a purpose, you have a reason to get up. And we try to keep people from getting into those hopeless or despair situations when you start to evaluate, why am I still here? We don't want people to do that. So we use seniors in that way. We use youth in another way because they have the strength and vitality. But part of the problem with the younger people is they're quickly bored, so they don't ever finish their projects. So we have to have real short projects for them because they're quickly onto something else. Okay, I've done this already, I'm moving on. So we don't usually keep them too long into the warehouse because they get bored quickly. All of the food that we get, especially baby food and generic food, is checked as it comes and as it goes because it's going to an audience that has challenged immune systems. Little babies don't have their immune system fully operational, and the same thing in the geriatric group. So we want to make sure that there's nothing there that could now create a new problem for the individual receiving the food. We have, over the years, kind of developed a system where we try to inspect everything that we get, and I think the real test is, would you feed it to your own family? So whether it has a good date or not, we look at the condition of it and we do the various things, but ultimately you ask yourself the question, would you yourself eat it, would you give it to your family? And that's the real test on whether or not we're going to distribute it. We will process, our fiscal year ends June the 30th, and we will have processed a little over $7 million worth of food this year. And that's good and that's bad. It's something to celebrate that we've been able to get that amount of food from the various people. It's a shame in the sense that there's such a need for it in the community. Our families are continuing to struggle, whether it's financially or maybe extended periods of unemployment, and now they're back working, but it takes a while to dig out. People, just because they get a job, they're not instantly healed and now have the ability to just resume life as it was before. We add to the food as much as we can. We add things such as household cleaning supplies. You all know what it costs to get laundry detergent today. Paper towels, toilet paper, toothpaste, for a mom with young children, diapers, baby formula. Those things are very, very expensive, and when you have limited resource, sometimes it's a real blessing to get that along with your groceries. So we try to do that as much as possible, and when you guys do the food drive, we get things like that, and they are perfect. They just keep on going. So you spend a day, but you impact a lot of people. If you would just think about the recipient of that food, what relief it is for them to know that they're going to be able to feed their family this week. And we don't restrict people. The larger families, some of them probably come Monday or Tuesday to one of the pantries, and then they probably show up again Thursday or Friday because the food is gone. We know in the summertime, and Mal has been really great in helping us to coordinate the calendar to make sure that maybe if we do the food diets very strategically, we know that summer's coming. The warehouse has generally been depleted by that time, and there's a great demand in the summertime. Kids are home from school, and when they're bored, the thing they do is they eat. So that refrigerator gets opened and closed a zillion more times during the summer, so family can deplete their resources almost instantly when the kids are home from school. And then as we approach the holidays, there's usually an abundance of giving. People think of family. You think of family, you think of holiday, you think of those times, and there's a sense of generosity. And so we get a lot of schools and civic organizations that donate in the fall. But our greatest need time is in the spring. Springtime, we're really depleted in the spring. There's nothing going on. People aren't thinking about holidays, and they're not thinking about anything else. And so very strategically that you guys have, you do the food collection in the spring, which really is very, very helpful for us. So we thank you for that. We thank you for, you thinking that out and how you can make the greatest impact that you can. And I think for us, if there was, I think we're all familiar with the saying to do the same thing and year after year and expect different results is some form of insanity. But some of the things that we do are very, very successful. And the things that you do, although they're a repeat, I think we just learn to do them better and we do them more successfully. But they make a difference. It isn't insanity. It is really very, very helpful to us that you guys continue to do that. We keep looking for ways that we can make a difference, and so we'll tinker with some things this year. We will probably try a mobile food bank a little bit, going to areas that we know that people are challenged, and we'll bring the food to them, and we'll see how that works. The rescue mission has a mobile shower unit. We may bring that along with us in the summertime. Might be nice. I know how all the rest of you feel when you're cleaned up. I know I do. And that's part of the training we do with some of our volunteers. You guys maybe have heard this story. We have some folks that they'll come and you'll question whether or not they should even be in the line. And ladies, you can relate to this. Sometimes we'll have somebody there and she has a real nice manicure and pedicure and looking really good. And our volunteers will be with kind of a jaundiced eye wondering, maybe she wouldn't have bought those nails. She could have bought some groceries. But just think about, you have a friend that is down on her luck. Things aren't going so great for her, and what do? You invite her to come along with you. Hey, let's go get our nails done. And maybe buy her lunch. So she gets a lift in her spirits, so she's not in such great despair. The next activity for her is standing in line to get groceries, and the last thing she needs is to be judged for it. And we'll have guys that carry groceries out to the cars. They'll look at the cars and say, this car's nicer and newer than mine. But we don't know the situation. If it's behind in the payments, if it's a borrowed car, and we don't care. Anybody that would come and stand in line for groceries, we're gonna supply them with the groceries. I don't know of anybody to stand in a line with 200 people in the summer to get a bag or a box of groceries that could go to the store and buy it. So I thank you all for what you do. You continue to support us. You've been just fabulous in your faithfulness in supporting us, and it makes a difference. It truly does. Question?
Yeah. What's the proportion of seniors in the recipients?
About 30%.
30% are seniors?
Are seniors, yeah. And that changes a little bit with the demographic, but for the most part, about 30%. That's probably our fastest growing area. Is with seniors.
You mentioned senior volunteers or other volunteers. Do you welcome volunteers other than doing the food drives? Like, let's say some of our members.
You can come to the warehouse or you can go to one of our pantries. We'd love to have you. Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays are our greatest need days between 11 and 2. That's when we really need folks. That's when we're gleaning groceries that are coming in from the markets. We get food from Trader Joe's, Ralph's, Vons, Albertsons, Fresh and Easy, and Sprouts. And so all of those vegetables and things have to be sorted and cleaned.
Okay. And what about, do you welcome, but we only have our food drive like once a quarter.
It's great.
What if in between, individually or collectively, we bring food to you?
Take it. Absolutely. There's 365 days out of the year there's a need, so we will take it anytime. And If you're challenged to get it to us, let us know. We have trucks moving about and picking up donations. We'll coordinate a pickup from your home. Yes.
You partially answered my question. You said the produce comes from the various grocery stores.
Uh-huh.
What about dairy and like meat?
Yes,
Where do you get
we
those
get
sources
protein
from?
from the stores as well. We also get produce from the distributors downtown. Our newsletter, the one going out in July, features Fresh Point. It's an organization that's in the City of Commerce that gives us pallets of vegetables so that we
So
can
what about the
distribute.
dairy and the meat though?
We do get dairy, we do get deli, we get as we say, we'll take everything except the teenage kid because they eat too much food. Okay, but yes, we get it all.
Well, since we're involved in that unloading the mail truck event every year, could you just kind of share a little bit what that's about
Sure.
and what happens?
Nationally, every post office in the country collects on that particular day. It's a letter carrier food drive, and all of those canned goods then get redistributed to a nonprofit organization. We have grown to the point of we had collectively we got 24,000 pounds of food this last food drive. So that's an incredible amount of canned goods. If you figure that every can is almost a pound, that's almost 24,000 items that comes in. It's the largest 3-hour food drive that we have all year long. So it's an incredible effort, and it's done throughout the nation.
Awesome.
It's really good. I think they're in their 40-something year of doing that. So
And we're part of that. That's great.
yeah, you guys do a great job. If
Thank
you
you.
guys didn't show up, we wouldn't get that. So thank you.
And
Yes, sir.
you get a couple of post offices assigned to your food bank specifically, is that correct?
We do 3.
3, okay.
We do 3 of them, and we would take more, but nobody ever gives one up. Once you have one, it's like, no. Okay.
Any other questions?
You good?
All right. Well,
I do have some material for anybody that needs some material.
wonderful. Yeah, we would love to have the material.